What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 12, I think it is, of the Fall Dabbing Central podcast. I'm the Mighty Bildo, and with me, of course, he needs no introduction, the man, the myth, the legend, old school legend gaming. What's up, old school?
What up? What up?
So, what's going on with you this week?
Not much, man. Just Labor Day weekend. Had a nice long weekend. That was pretty cool. Got to chill a little bit.
Yeah, man. We went over our friend's house to their nice new in-ground pool that they got, and I took my first step in there. On the very first step, my foot slipped right out from underneath me, and I scraped my back all up on the stairs.
Oh,
Like, man, and the funny thing is, my back didn't even hurt that much. It's the heel of my foot. I think it hit like every step on the way down as I was trying to like catch my grip or something. But I ended up looking up at the sky, man. Everybody's looking like, "Oh, you all right?" And being the guy I am, I'm like, "I'm fine. Just leave me alone. Stop talking to me."
yeah, yeah. Oh man, dude, I feel like pool falls are the worst. So like, especially stairs inside of a pool. So like when you walk down the stairs, there's been so many times where like I've stubbed my toe, like on a stair, on a pool
Uh huh.
stair, or like you like you shred your heel up or something like that because like the it feels rough. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
whatever stucco, whatever it is they use in that pool, man, your feet get real soft, and then like it's just like sandpaper on your feet, dude. Just
Yeah. Yeah, I think when I was a kid, we lived in an apartment complex, and there was a big ass pool there that had just the metal. Um, they had stairs on the two corners, but in the deep end, they had stairs going up each. Not stairs, but metal ladders going up each side. I think those things were notorious for like me catching a toe on there or something, and
oh yeah,
oof, and stubbing a toe sucks.
that it does.
Um, So just before you got on here, you told me you just started getting into Starfield a little bit. So
Yeah,
what are
man.
your initial thoughts?
I'm a couple hours in. I mean it's not a bad game. Um, I I think this is a really good game for Xbox. I don't feel like PlayStation users are missing out on anything. To me, it plays very similar to Fallout. So it's like Fallout in outer space.
Uh huh.
That's kind of how it felt to me. But I had fun with it, man. I haven't really done much. I just been exploring. I got to that first planet, and I just been walking around collecting materials, fighting enemies, trying not to die against like higher leveled enemies.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I mean, overall, man, like I like it so far. It's pretty good. I'm probably not going to finish it though, just because it's not holding my attention enough, and there's just like a lot more stuff that's going to be coming out here in the next couple of weeks that I'm more interested in playing.
Yeah.
Um, one of the things I don't like is I don't like the dogfight aspect of it. How like you have like the shit battles and stuff.
Yeah.
I've just never been into games like that. So even like Assassin's Creed, there's a couple of them that have like a naval combat where you have to like command a ship, and then you go and like you have to sink like an enemy ship and all the stuff. I'm not into like little mini games like that in like regular games. So that was kind of a turn off for me. And based on what I've read and what I've saw, it seems like that happens like quite a bit in the game itself. And then as you destroy other ships, you collect parts, and then you could one repair your ship and then build a new ship and all this other stuff. And I I don't want to get into that much. So I just want to get in there. I want to go to a planet. I want to explore, collect some stuff, kill some people or kill some aliens, monsters, whatever. And yeah, just do some side missions and not have to worry about the ship combat.
Yeah. And it's nice. It's on Game Pass, so you don't have to fork out a whole $70 for it.
Yep.
Um, I'm actually kind of on the not direct opposite side from you because you think it's a good game, but I'm really actually enjoying it. Um, from somebody that never never played more than a couple of hours of Skyrim. Never really played any of the Fallout games. I'm not really a big RPG type player, really. So stepping into Starfield is kind of all almost new to me. Like I've played RPGs before, but never really this in depth. And me, I'm a big like I'm always watching YouTube shorts and everything on like space and other planets and
Mhm,
the galaxy and everything. So I find that fascinating. So then you mix that into like the video game world where you could go fly around and explore actual planets and stuff. Um, it really captured me. But I see what you're saying with the space battles. I'm not a big fan of it either. I feel like when you are in space, even when you're not fighting, you are essentially just in like a big box that you can't really like. You could fly as long as you want to. I think who was it? Alana Pierce or something on YouTube flew for like 7 hours right at one planet, and when she got to it, it was she just flew right through it. So it's not like you could fly from planet to planet, which is kind of
mhm.
upsetting to me. But yeah, the space battles when you're up in space fighting like dog fighting and everything, it's not what I'm really into. I think it's cool, but it's not where I choose to spend my time really. Like you said, I like landing on a planet and just exploring and seeing like the detail that they put into some of these like big cities and everything.
Yeah. So,
Um,
what one thing that you said that I thought was really interesting, and I failed to mention, was you said that you never played Skyrim or like you haven't really gotten into like Fallout or anything like that. So this is like your first time like really experiencing one of these open world type Bethesda games, right?
yep.
So I think people who are like first time to the series like this, well, I shouldn't say the series because this is the first, but anyone who has never played an open world Bethesda game like a Fallout or a Skyrim, um, I think they're going to fall in love with this game because it's so different than anything you're going to be used to. It's a huge game. There's so
Mhm.
much stuff you can do. And that was really the charm with like the Fallout games and Skyrim, just the amount of activities and just things for you to do. So I'm really happy that you're having a good time with it because maybe that means after you finish Starfield you'll jump into some Skyrim or
Mm.
hop into that Fallout.
I might. I was talking to a coworker today about Skyrim, and I have it on the Xbox 360, I believe. But going back to it now, I like after playing like the current gen games and everything. I don't know because of the, like the graphics and everything. I don't know if I can really get into it. I don't know. I think the graphics are like will hold me back if I try to get back into it.
So if you try to play the 360 version now, you're gonna have a bad time because
Mhm.
compared well even back then it ran kind of choppy because it was only at 30 frames. It might have been less than that actually. On Game Pass they have like the anniversary edition or whatever that you could play. So if you play that on your PC, you're gonna be able to run that at like 4K 60, and
Ooh,
yeah, you're gonna have a good time with that one. But that's another game that's just super beefy, man.
I might have to give that a go, man. Because that's what my coworker said. Like it's a great game. And Fallout 4, I got into a little bit. I got it on PS4, but again, I it was just one of those things where it's like, oh man, there's so much to like kind of do and learn almost. So I was like, I don't really feel like getting into this right now.
Yeah.
Um, and go ahead.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at with Starfield because like there's so much. I mean, like for the most part, like all the controls are the same as they would be like in your Fallout and your Skyrim. The collectibles, there's a lot of stuff that you could collect, you could pick up and you could hold on to that like you don't need. Um in those games they're infamous for getting like in Skyrim, you could pick up like wood bowls and like mugs and like all this other stuff that like you don't do anything with other than build a house and like put it on a shelf.
Yeah,
That's it. And it just takes up space in your inventory. But right now, I just don't think I'm going to be able to get into the meat and potatoes of the game like I want to. So maybe like by next summer, I'll have a little bit more of my backlog cleared and like the stuff that I really want to play that's coming out soon. Um, I'll be done playing that, and I'll be ready to move on to something like Starfield.
Yeah. Something that really got me when I realized, like, oh man, I'm really enjoying this game is I jumped in and got just to the point where you meet up with Constellation and that girl Sarah, and she becomes your companion or whatever and follows you around. I barely even scratched the surface on the story, and I'm at like 17 hours now into the game, um, just doing side quests and stuff. Like, so I joined the Vanguard right there on New Atlantis, that first city you get to, and I talked to the guy behind the desk, and he asked me if I wanted to join. I said, "Yeah, sure." I was like, this will be a quick little 1 or 2 mission thing. And like 17 hours later, I'm still not done with that quest. And it's like really intriguing stuff. Like it's cool stuff that is fascinating to me. So I keep going with it. Um, but when you join that, first you have to do like some kind of test to make sure like you could fly your ship and all that in game. Um, and then you go outside, take your oath and everything. But something funny that happened to me while I was doing all that, I just got done with my test. I walked outside. I seen this cool little tool up on the wall. I was like, oh, that's cool. So I just took it. And then next thing I know, the police are coming over to me and putting me in handcuffs and taking me to jail. I'm like, what in the world? So I'm getting interrogated by these two people up on a spaceship. It's like a jail in space, a prison. And then the guy that runs the prison comes and talks to me and loops me into doing a whole nother side quest, um, with the Crimson Fleet, which is like uh, a bad, like a gang, I guess, in the game.
Yeah, those are the
And
antagonists, right?
yeah, yep, exactly. And those are all just side quests that I have. Like that Crimson Fleet one, I haven't even scratched the surface on yet. I might have did like 2 missions on it just so I can get out of jail and not have to sit there forever. Um, and then I just went back to doing the Vanguard stuff. But yeah, like you said, the game is just so deep and there's so much lore and backstory to it, and then add the space element to it. I freaking love it right now. Like 17 hours in, and I can't wait to get back to it.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. That's really good to hear. One thing I will say to you is try to do all the side quests, because usually in the Bethesda games they have some epic side quests that, one, add to the story, and two, some of the side quests are actually even better than like the main story.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
there's probably like a million side quests. You know what I mean? So like, is it realistic for you to do every side quest? You'll probably be playing the game until this time next year, just doing
Yeah.
side quests. But you do get like a lot of good rewards and stuff typically from different side quests. So I would, if not that I have experience with the Starfield side quests, but I would imagine they're very similar to the layout of the Fallout series and Skyrim. Yeah, get a few of those side missions in.
Yeah. So from what I could tell, you got like your main story missions, and then you have your um what'd you call it? Like the Vanguard, the other like Crimson Fleet, all the factions, the
Mm,
faction missions. Um, so far, that's pretty much all I've done. Those are probably like the biggest missions in the game, if I had to guess. And then you have your smaller side quests where you just walk by a random person out on the street or on a planet somewhere, and they just throw a quest at you. Um, but I was exploring the well, I think. Yeah, the well in New Atlantis. It's like you take an elevator down. It's like the slums of the city, right? And I'm walking up to this random door. Not, I wasn't in a quest or nothing. I was just exploring. Gave me the option to pick the lock, so I picked the lock. I go in, and there's this dead dude laying right inside the door on the floor in a puddle of his own blood. I was like, "This is creepy as hell. What's going on here?" I take a couple steps inside. Then out of the bathroom comes a big ass giant like robot dog trying to attack me. So me and the NPC I'm with, Sarah, we start shooting it and kill it. And then dialogue goes on, and it turns out that that little robot dog killed its owner and left him laying there. So I was like, dude,
Man.
that's so crazy. Like the detail they put into this, just a random spot.
Yeah. That's awesome though, man. Yeah. It's fun finding little snippets and little things like that, you know.
Yeah, little
Man.
Easter eggs and stuff, and whew,
Dude,
it,
I'm excited for you, man. I'm glad you like this game. So I look forward to your progress updates and stuff when you're playing this.
yeah, man, 17 hours. I wonder because I just started the story missions now. Um, kind of just poking around a little bit. I'm curious how long the actual story missions are. I heard somebody it took somebody like 40, 50 hours just to beat the main story.
Mhm.
Um, and then you have all that side stuff to do that's interesting in its own right. It's like God, like they weren't lying when they said this is like a 300-hour game or something.
Oh, I believe it. But yeah, from what I played for it, man, it solid game, dude. You know, I saw some people online on Twitter or X rather saying it was the best game they've ever played. I think eh, for me, I think that's kind of far fetched. But I also saw the other side of the coin where people were saying it was like garbage or oh this game
Yeah.
is so boring or like whatever else. And like to me that's straight up BS. Um, Anybody who says the game is bad or boring or whatever, like no, they're probably just not used to those kind of games, and they're looking for a reason to have that tribalism, that fanboyism, because Xbox has something that Sony doesn't. And like I
Yeah.
said, it's I'm glad that like Xbox, Microsoft, they have something that is exclusive to them that's so good, because
Hmm.
for so long Sony has had exclusives for them that have been so good. God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, Infamous. I mean, Horizon Zero Dawn.
No, Last
I
of
could
Us.
Killzone. You know what I mean? Like there's so many games that are really good that have been stuck on PlayStation, and unfortunately, the Microsoft fans have not been able to experience those.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. It's good that Xbox. I'm hoping this is a turning point for them because I'd like to see them get more first party exclusives that are like straight up bangers.
Yeah,
Um, just to kind of compete a little bit with PlayStation. Like I said a million times before, and I'll keep saying it, but competition between the two only benefits the consumer. So
absolutely, absolutely. So I'm hoping people's voices have been loud enough, and where people are going to start letting their PlayStation Plus subscriptions just expire and not renew because that price hike. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
to me, that's just ridiculous, man. If it was a few dollars, okay, I could understand, but nah, man. I was talking to one of my buddies, and he was like, "Dude, go to CD Keys and just stock up on like PlayStation Plus codes." So I've never really bought anything from like the CD Key sites, and there's another one called Eniba. So what this is you go to the website and you could type in, let's just say Gears of War, right? So you type in Gears of War, like Xbox 360, and you'll get a digital code, but it's cheaper than say what you would pay on the Xbox store. So the Xbox store is selling it for, let's just say, $30. And Eniba or CD Keys might have it on sale for like 15% off. So you're looking at like $23 or something like that versus like the 30. So you buy it from them, you use PayPal or whatever, and they email you the code. So then you just pop in the code and it works just like it would like a digital download. So I've always been skeptical of sites like that just
yeah,
because like they just they kind of seem shady to me. But my buddy swore up and down that CD Keys was legit. So he bought like four PlayStation Plus memberships at I think it was under it might have been like at like $53 they had them on sale for. So he bought like four of them and I was like, So to convince me, he showed me his receipts and when he downloaded them. So he's got PlayStation Plus till like 2028 or something right now because of all that. So I was like, oh man, let me go ahead and do that then. So I went to
Yeah.
CD Keys and they've already have the new prices. So everything there is like $70 now. Um,
Oof.
yeah. So I missed out by like a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm just like, oh man. So my PlayStation Plus runs out in November, and I need to decide if I'm just like I'm just gonna do essential,
Yeah.
but hopefully for Black Friday. Last year they had a sale on PlayStation Plus where they were doing like 15, 20, and 30% off. So I'm hoping they do something like that again. And if they do, then I'm gonna stock up on essential. That way I could have that membership for a little cheaper.
Yeah. My membership's up in January, so I need to figure something out too. Hopefully Black Friday, like you said, or something. Get some deals.
Yeah.
But do I remember right? Back in the day, maybe a few years ago, there was some kind of controversy with CD keys or something. Isn't that like a site where anybody can get on there and sell stuff, like
Uh,
bootleg stuff, or no, or something?
I I don't know if anybody could get out there and sell, but I kind of feel like a couple years ago there was something. I mean, maybe it was longer than that. There was something where they got compromised. So there was like a bunch of people's account information that got like leaked out into the universe because somebody hacked their server or something like that. I think something like that happened.
That makes sense.
But that's why I've always been kind of skeptical about that stuff. But what's good about that is you could use PayPal to pay. So if anything happens, you could just dispute it with PayPal and
Hmm.
you get your money back.
That's cool. Yeah. um. So, were you in the camp of Tears of the Kingdom being game of the year this year?
Yeah,
Okay, so knowing what you know about Starfield now, and I believe Baldur's Gate 3 is out on PS5 now. You haven't told me you played it, so I doubt you've played it yet. But between those three, what you've seen on the internet, all everybody talking, do you have any predictions on which one of those might get it? Like, because I think Spider-Man 2 is going to be a banger, but I don't think it's quite going to compete with those three.
so if I had to choose, so far my game of the year has not changed. It's still going to be Tears of the Kingdom.
Mm,
I see Tears of the Kingdom getting game of the year just because of one, how old the Switch is at this point, two, how much they were able to fit on that Switch cartridge to play that game.
yep.
Because it's that game was awesome. Like it was a lot of fun, beautiful looking game, very innovative, very creative. But to do all of that on that outdated hardware, that's really impressive. So to me, I think a game like Starfield, that's something that should be expected because we now have the hardware, the PlayStation 5 and the series. We have the hardware that could push the boundaries of gaming and graphics and all that other stuff. So in my opinion, I think the games that come out now, we should we should be expecting similar experiences to Starfield just because of how powerful these machines are. You know what I mean? So
Oh
you
yeah.
go back and you look at the Switch, it's a little dinky, a little rinky dink, safe to say. But having that banger on there, Zelda, that Tears of the Kingdom, that's my pick all day.
Oh yeah. I'd have to agree with you so far. And it's crazy that you say it was so innovative because it is. But if you think about it, they reused the entire map they built for Breath of the Wild in that game. But
It sure did.
they added so much content to it. It made it almost like an entirely new game all in itself. So,
Absolutely. I saw a lot of the arguments saying that it's essentially just like $70 DLC. And that's like the furthest thing from the truth that could be
yeah.
that. So a lot of the assets from Breath of the Wild were used, but I mean, you have an entire sky map that's just as big as the Breath of the Wild game, and then you have an underground area which is just as big as the Breath of the Wild game as well. So you have three gigantic areas where you could explore and do missions and find collectibles and do all that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, getting to Boulder's Gate, I have not played Boulder's Gate, and I got to be honest, I don't think I'm going to because it's not quite what I thought it was going to be. So I was watching some of the some footage of like the PlayStation 5 release, and it looks like there's like a dice mechanic in there,
Yep.
and I that just doesn't work for me, brother. I don't want to have to roll dice, man. I don't want to have to, luck of the draw or whatever. I just want to I want to play an RPG where I could get my character and explore, do what I need to do, and that's it. I don't want to have to worry about like the luck of the draw when I'm battling people by clicking that imaginary dice.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I didn't know about it either. But kind of playing through it as long as I did, I probably put 7 or 8 hours into it. It kind of grows on you. It's not too bad. Like the dice rolls that I've come up against, like it's not. It is luck of the draw. Hit the nail on the head with that one. But maybe if I rolled the dice 30 times, I probably won 25 times, 20, 25 times maybe. Um, I don't think I'm going to continue playing it that much after Starfield came out just because there's so much to it. There's like, it's you plus three party members. You got to constantly be aware of items you have in your inventory, items your uh, people that are with you have in their inventory, everybody's abilities, um, different people you come across in the world. Um, it's just so much to think about. Whenever I was like, I only get like maybe an hour or two a night to sit down and actually play some games. And when I would sit down and play that one, I'd sit here and I'd be reading everything, trying to figure out what everything does. And by the time I'm done and going to bed, I got almost a headache because I'm like, I feel like my brain is working too hard for some of this stuff.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I might be a small majority of the people that feel like that, but I just don't feel like Starfield's RPG, but that is like massive RPG. I don't know how you would differentiate the two.
yeah. I think it's just different styles of RPGs. You know, I think back in the day you had RPG was just like one streamlined genre. Now like RPG, there's action RPG, there's turn-based RPG, they got the MMO RPGs, so yeah, the the RPGs that are similar to um Baldur's Gate, I'm not a fan of those just because it's a little too much for me.
The one thing I think the console version of it has going for it is it's not click to move. You can just control your character with a joystick. The
Oh man,
PC, go
so
ahead.
it's click to move on the PC.
Yes.
Oh man,
Yep. I think there's
nah.
a mod or something you can download where you don't have to click to move. Um, but the console version I know is you just move your character with the joystick and you're fine.
Yeah, that kind of moving just seems like outdated. At
Yeah,
least,
and
at least to me.
it kind of like I see what you're saying. But again, me coming from other genres in gaming and not being a big RPG guy, it was kind of a cool change of pace. Um, but for the other reasons I talked about it, I don't see myself going back to it. I feel like I'm going to be in Starfield for the next like month and a half until Spider-Man 2 comes out, and then I'm all in on Spider-Man 2 and Super Mario Brothers Wonder. I want to play
Yeah,
that one.
yeah, that's gonna be fun to play. I'm looking forward to that Super Mario RPG, and I think I'm gonna get that Cyberpunk DLC when it comes out.
Did you beat the story of Cyberpunk?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, so I didn't. I need to go back to it. I got it on PS5.
that was I, I know it had its problems when it came out. I waited a while before I played it, and I actually ended up beating it on the PS4 Pro. There was still a couple of problems, but man, what a fantastic story and like what a
Mm,
great game. There was a lot going on, and like the characters you meet were just fantastic. And I'm a big fan of the whole like cyberpunk type metropolis, that type of like looking stuff, that futuristic like techno look. So
yeah.
for me, I had a really good time with that, but just being able to go into like the different clubs and like being able to essentially just kill anybody you wanted to. um,
Hmm.
it's almost like you could do whatever you want to do. And the amount of weapons and stuff you could choose from, like katana blades, baseball bats, guns, RPGs, all kinds of stuff, man. Really innovative side missions and everything. So I enjoyed my time with Cyberpunk. So I really think I'm going to pick up this DLC when it comes out.
Yeah, I really got to get back into it. So year it came out, I think it came out like early December or something. My wife ended up getting it for me for Christmas that year, and I loaded it up and started playing. And it was for Xbox One. I have the Xbox One X, so I was playing it on that, and it was such a buggy mess. I just couldn't do it after I probably put probably close to 10 hours into it. I just couldn't do it anymore because it was so horrible. Um, but the story of it was pretty damn good. And I remember that. And then when I got it for PS4, when the PS5 version released, um, I started playing it a little bit and kind of got back to where I was on the Xbox version. And for some reason, I just stopped playing it again. But it was a lot smoother, and a lot of the bugs were fixed and addressed. So I need to get back into that maybe at some point. Um, Probably not anytime real soon, but that's a goal of mine. Get back into Cyberpunk because it was a really good game.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend playing through that one. That was a solid game. So
Are you into Star Wars at all?
um kinda. So I gotta be honest, man. I've only seen the Star Wars movies once, and I saw
Mm.
them about for the first time about 3 years ago. And I'm 40 years old, so that I was one of those guys. I was one of those nerds that never watched Star Wars, but I've always heard so many people talk about it. So me and the wife finally watched it, and I liked it. I didn't like it as much as other people did, and my least favorite one is actually the one that everybody else seems to think is like the best one, and it was Star Wars Rogue, I think.
Rogue Squadron?
No, it was
Or uh,
man, I
is
can't.
that the one that just is a newer one?
Yeah, it was like a spin-off one.
Rogue One. Rogue
Rogue
One.
One, that's it. Yeah. I fell asleep during that one, man. But I don't know. Apparently the majority of people think that's like the best one. So,
I wouldn't say it's the best one. I've been watching Star Wars my whole life. My dad got me into it when I was a kid, and I think it's far from the best one. I think the three prequel movies are. I'm gonna piss people off with this one, but I think the three prequel movies are probably better than that one. But it's a good movie still. Um,
so
but
my favorite one was actually the third prequel where he becomes Darth Vader, like where he
yep,
becomes bad. I thought that was badass, man. I did.
that
I know a lot of
that
people
was
hated it, but I was like, I don't know, man. This is dope.
it was a badass moment. They were waiting to see after the first two prequels, and then the first trilogy of movies that came out in like the early '80s or
Mhm.
whatever it was. Uh, that that was a good moment. I think though, for me, my favorite would have to be Episode 4, A New Hope, like the first movie that ever came out.
Yeah,
Um, just seeing Luke Skywalker learn about the Force and all that, it was just freaking awesome. Um,
yeah.
I wanted to ask if you saw that Ahsoka show.
I have not.
Okay, I'm only 2 episodes in. Um, I'm kind of letting them release a few before I go back and binge watch them all again. Um, I was kind of enjoying it. This is the first Star Wars project that I've really paid attention to and liked. in a while now. So that's why I was kind of curious.
Yeah, so for me right now, this time of year, this is spooky season for me.
Ah, yep.
So my favorite holiday is Halloween. Like I love October is my favorite month of the year. My wife's birthday is on Halloween. I
Mm,
absolutely love Halloween. So I every October I always try to do 31 horror movies in 31 days. I never ever ever get to do it because I just always have so much stuff going on. So I usually get about like 10 in for the month. So I'm actually going to start early this year, and I got to make my list of horror movies to watch. So I typically watch the same ones like every year just because I like them. Like I love them, in fact. Um, the newer horror movies, I don't know. Like they're not really scary to me,
hmm
but I don't know, and I just don't think they're very good. Although we are the new Nun movie is coming out. It's
yep.
like the Nun 2. So I think we're gonna try to catch that in theaters. Um, but as a matter of fact, the last movie we saw in theaters was Evil Dead Rise, and that was I enjoyed it. I just didn't think it was scary at all. I didn't like it was kind of creepy. Um, but outside of that, I was just like, eh. So typically, I watch a lot of '80s horror, a lot of '90s horror, because to me that was like the golden age of horror movies.
Yeah. I've never been huge into horror movies myself, but if I'm gonna watch one, I feel like it's got to be like a late '80s, early '90s horror flick, like the original Halloweens and stuff, and the
Yeah.
all that. It's just the feeling you get nowadays. I feel like they rely on jump scares and stuff, and it's like super dark, and all of a sudden,
Yeah.
but back then the movies were just creepy as hell.
Yeah, it just like they hit different, man. And it was the animatronics and stuff that they used. I kind of
hmm
liked them back in the day rather than like the CGI that they have now. I can't explain why. I think the animatronics and like puppets and stuff like that in movies back in the day look better than like the hyper realistic CGI looking stuff now. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just, that's just one of those things for me. But I know that I remember watching the remake of A Nightmare on Elm Street that came out maybe like I don't know, probably 10 years ago at this point, maybe longer.
hmm
Um, so I love the original Nightmare on Elm Street. That's one of my favorite movies. So watching that remake, it was just god awful, man. So like Freddy Krueger himself, man, he was like 5 foot tall, and he's going after these like high school like football players who are like 6'4", like 260. And I'm like, I'm sorry, man, but if I'm that big and I see like a little dude coming at me like with like a glove, like a like knives on his glove, I'm grabbing a 2x4, I'm grabbing something, and
yeah.
I'm taking this guy out. But
Doesn't he
they
come at you in your dreams though?
he does, but still, like in your dreams, I would think that you would be able to, especially like in your dreams, you could dream up whatever. I would dream up like a chainsaw.
Oh,
Oh,
that's true.
hey, you know, but so that kind of like took that out. Like that was like one movie that just kind of killed it for me, man.
Yeah. Uh and the fall time, September, October, November, early December and through Christmas is my favorite time of the year too. Just to get that on record because it's the best time of year. I don't care what anybody says.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
but I think it was so funny. Do you remember seeing the first Paranormal Activity?
Yeah,
It probably came it probably came out in like 2010, 2011 maybe, something like that. Um I remember the first time I watched that, and I saw the Blair Witch Project when I was a kid also. So I knew about these found footage type movies, but there's something about that Paranormal Activity, the very first one, that freaked me the hell out. And I was like 20 at the time or something when I saw it. Um so me and my buddy, my roommate at the time, were sitting in the living room watching it, right? The TV was in the corner, I was on one couch, he was on the other couch, and we're just hanging out watching it. Like We were both kind of freaked out by it. It was nighttime. The lights were off. It was pretty freaky. And my buddy's girlfriend at the time, at one of the most tense parts, I think it was when towards the end when the lady was like full on possessed or something. eh, my buddy's girlfriend knocked on the door right as soon as something was about to happen, and really, we flipped the hell out, man. I was like, "Dude, you can't do that. I don't care. Like, you gotta know these things. You just don't knock on the door when we're watching this movie." But that was probably the freakiest movie that I've seen in like my recent memory.
Man, we so I actually saw that movie in theater, and I remember I was with a couple of friends, and like we watched it, and I mean, like it was pretty creepy or whatever. But like when that ending hit, um, and here's a spoiler. Sorry anybody who hasn't seen this movie, but at the end of the movie, the chick is possessed, and right, so there's like the home camera that's like recording like the whole thing, and she
Mhm.
takes her fiance into like the hallway, and you hear him screaming and everything.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden,
Oh,
like you just hear him screaming and it's quiet. And then all of a sudden, like she throws him into the room. So you just see his body like flying towards the
yes.
camera. And then she walks in and you see her face, and her face is like all demonic looking. And she's like into the camera, and the movie just ends. When that
Yeah.
happened in the theater, everybody, it was like a collective, oh shit, because like you had no idea like that was going to happen. It was just
Yeah.
like you heard the guy screaming, and that you're like, oh, okay, well I guess that. Oh wait, oh yeah. So that was really good. So then they came out with a bunch of other ones, and
Yeah.
like 2 and 3 are pretty good. They don't quite scratch that itch that the first one did.
Yep.
So
Yeah. Yeah. None of them lived up to the first one for me. And I thought, I think I'm wrong, but I thought they had a series or something, maybe on Paramount Plus, was it, or something like that? I don't know.
maybe it's
No,
possible.
I don't think it was. I don't think it was had anything to do with the movie. It was just called Paranormal or something. It was like Ghost Hunt.
Gotcha.
But yeah, that first movie freaked me the hell out.
Yeah, man. That's actually one of the ones on my list that I watch every year. So I've got that. The Exorcist. That's a classic, man. Such a good movie. Um, what
I've
else I
only
got?
seen bits and pieces of that one.
Oh, that's it's a good one, man. It's not so back in the day, like so. I grew up Catholic, and it deals with Catholicism and everything.
Hmm.
Um, but it was like a big deal back in the day because so where I grew up in New York, like that whole section, it was just mainly just like Catholics like all around. So I know when my dad saw it when it first came out, he always used to tell me like what a big deal it was because it was so like sacrilegious, and all these, like there's a part where the girl, like she's like masturbating with a cross, like
So
Jesus on the cross.
your dad was against it?
No, 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 no. He liked it,
Oh, oh,
but
okay.
it was just like so many people were like anti, that movie because of how sacrilegious it was, and it was just for them it was very real because like in like Roman Catholic religion, there's a lot of belief in like exorcisms and demonic possessions and that kind of stuff. Um, so that was like the first movie of its kind. So back in the day, it was like a huge deal. When I first saw it, I was a kid, and I was just like, "Man, this is crazy." But there's just like so much in that movie that happens that there would be no way that somebody would be able to make a film like that today and not get canceled immediately.
Yeah.
Like because like so it's like a 10-year-old girl who's possessed, and like I said earlier, masturbating with a cross,
Hmm.
telling the priest your mother sucks cocks in hell. Um tell,
Uh,
telling the priest, lick me,
yeah.
lick me. Like,
Ah,
dude, you see that shit now, you're like, whoa,
yeah, I
hold on
remember.
there.
There's clips of that all over the internet. I've seen them. I've seen those clips for sure.
Yeah, yeah. It's yeah, that's a good movie though, man. It's one of those. So apparently, I think it's The Exorcist 3 is supposed to be even scarier than the first Exorcist. I've never seen The Exorcist 3. So this year my goal is to watch that one.
Are you gonna watch all three?
So I've actually seen the second one, and
Uh
the second one is horrendous, man. It
huh.
is so bad. Yeah, it's not worth seeing again.
Damn. Maybe I'll make it a point to watch the first one this year or something. It's hard because I got a 5-year-old at the house that likes to be glued to mommy and daddy's hip, so
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
really
yeah.
watch it around her.
No, definitely, man. But I was really big into collecting VHS horror movies, but since VHS became like such a popular thing now, all those movies are so expensive to get. So you go on eBay and you look for a copy of the original Halloween on VHS, you're paying like $50 for it. And I'm just like, man, come on, man. I can't do that.
50
So
bucks for a VHS tape. God
who
dang.
would have thought, man? I don't even think they were that much when they first came out.
Yeah. I, I I'm curious how much they were. It's funny. I got some old Disney VHS tapes from one of my aunts, who's passed away now, but she was so big into like record keeping and stuff. She would when she would buy a VHS tape, she would put the receipt in the case and just keep the receipt with it forever. So I
Oh
have
wow.
some Disney VHS tapes with receipts behind me. I had to go and take a look to see how much he paid for some of them.
Dude, that's dope, man. That's you should try to preserve those receipts, man, before cuz like I know like the ink on them fades after a while.
Yes.
Yeah.
How'd you go about preserving some of them? Like
You could scan
laminate
it.
them or something?
You,
Oh
you
yeah,
so you could laminate it or you could scan it. So with your iPhone in the Notes app, you could just like scan it and create a PDF of it and have it digitally. Granted,
that's true.
it's not the actual like legit, receipt, but you'll still have it there.
Yep.
Um and I mean you could try to laminate it. The only problem is like depending on how brittle the paper is at this point,
Hmm.
lamination might actually destroy it.
That's true. 'Cause it's got to get pretty hot and roll it through the rollers and everything in there, don't it?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
So for a while, I was keeping receipts in my PS3 game, like pretty much any game that I was buying, I was keeping like receipts and stuff in there. And occasionally, like I'll pop one open and I'll find a receipt in there. And I'll take a look at it from like you know 2011 or something like that, and I see like, oh man, like look at all these games that I bought. Some of them I don't even have anymore, but it's cool to see them. But a lot of those receipts that I come across now, the ink on them is faded,
Yeah.
so you can't really
Yep.
see what it was.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Um,
man, ain't there's not too much going on, man. Pretty quiet week.
I know. Um, yeah, I just refreshed my Twitter feed here and I don't know how true this is. I hope it's not true, but GTA 6 is apparently going to cost $150. This guy's posting.
What?
That can't be right. That can't be right.
Nah, maybe though.
I-
I don't know.
I'd like to know where he's getting his information from.
Yeah,
But next week is GTA 5's 10-year anniversary. Um, Hopefully we get some info on GTA 6. That'd be sick.
yeah.
Um, I don't know. I can't remember if we talked about this, but at Gamescom a couple weeks ago, apparently the successor to the Nintendo Switch, was there being shown off behind closed doors.
We did not talk about that, but I actually I was reading about that probably a couple hours ago before I came on here.
Yeah, I think I saw a video recently, like this week, that apparently they were running some like Unreal Engine 5 stuff on there. Um,
Yeah, and I heard that somebody played. There was like I don't know if it was like a tech demo or something like that, but it was like an updated version of Breath of the Wild with like updated visuals and like frame rates and stuff. So I would imagine that they're probably going to do some sort of if that is 100% true, Nintendo is probably going to do some sort of re-release for Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom with like a higher frame rate and updated visuals.
Yeah, and I was listening to, I think it was RGT85 this morning. He put out a video talking about that, and I don't know. I'm kind of torn. Like, I really hope it's backwards compatible with all the Switch games, but seeing as how they re-released all the like Wii U games and everything on the Switch. Now, granted, that was different hardware. Like the Wii U and the Wii was disc-based systems, whereas the Switch is cartridge, right? So
Mhm.
uh, I don't know. I don't know what to think. I hope it's backwards compatible, but seeing that they could make all the money on re-releasing all these old games, why would they make it backwards compatible when they could do that?
Yeah. Um, I don't know, man. I think this one is going to end up being backwards compatible because if you take a look at like their history, right? So when the we'll start with the Game Boy, right? So when the Game Boy Color came out, you were still able to play your Game Boy games on the Game Boy Color.
Yep.
Um, and then the Game Boy Advance SP came out, and you were still able to play your Game Boy Color games and your Game Boy games in addition to the SP games. And then when the DS came out, you were still able to play all of those. Um, so then you got the GameCube. GameCube came out. Um, then the Wii was after the GameCube, so you were able to play GameCube games on the Wii.
Yep.
Granted, in later models of the Wii, they took away that function because it was a cost cutting measure. So Wii U comes out, you're able to play Wii games on the Wii U. So Nintendo is the successor to the Wii U. So I would imagine that the new Switch that comes out is going to be pretty much similar to what they do, where you could play your original Switch games on that.
I
I
hope
just
so.
I just don't know if they're going to be able to have the technology to where those games are going to be able to run at a higher frame rate or maybe like at a crisper fidelity or something. I don't know if they're going to be able to do that. So maybe that could be one thing that they're like, hey, listen, it's not going to make sense to have this powerful system where and play old games that can't run and take advantage of that technology. So like
Hmm.
to me, that's one of the reasons why I could see why they wouldn't do it, but I don't think it's likely that they get rid of the backwards compatibility.
I hope not. And honestly, when it comes to Nintendo, like Witcher 3, I'm not going to play that on my Switch. I'm going to play it on my PS4 or PS5. Like big AAA third party games like that, I'm not going to buy for a Nintendo system. I buy a Nintendo to play Nintendo games, really.
Yeah.
Um, and honestly, I feel like the current Switch, the graphics are uh, they're fine for me for what I want it for. What I really hope they improve on is like this. I hope they put a SSD, figure out how to fit a SSD in there somewhere, and maybe like a little bigger screen and better um, handles
Hmm.
for like portable mode and stuff. But I don't think I really need to see maybe 60 frames per second too. But as far as like 4K gaming and stuff, I don't think we need that on a Nintendo system. Period.
No. I think honestly, if they did like 1440p and like 1440p at 60 frames, if they were
Hmm.
able to, that was like a target for all the newer games that would be coming out for this new system. I think that'd be fantastic because I think, in my opinion at least, I think the frame rate trumps visuals constantly because you could have a gorgeous game, but if it keeps dropping frames, man, you're not going to have a good time playing it because it's going to be super choppy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But speaking of Nintendo stuff, have you seen that Legends 64 mod for WWF No Mercy?
I have not.
So WWF, like you can only do this on the emulators though. You can't do this on actual hardware. There's a big community that makes mods for No Mercy for the N64. So you download whatever the emulator is, like Mupin 64, whatever. whatever emulator you like for the Nintendo 64.
Mhm.
And there's a couple of patch files that you have to patch an original WWF No Mercy ROM with, and they have some that's like Impact Wrestling. So it's the Impact Wrestling roster in the N64 WWF No Mercy game. It's the craziest thing ever. It's so damn cool. They have so many things. So this team put together this one called Legends 64,
Uh-huh.
and it's another patch for No Mercy. And if you check out RGT 85's channel, he has a video of it on there, and
Okay.
it looks so fun. I
Really?
Yeah, dude, I don't even really care for N64 emulation like that, but I want to get into it just so I can play this game. That's how freaking fun it looks.
Really?
You
Did that
you
come
pulling
out
it up now?
recently?
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably within the past 2 weeks.
Oh, Legends Challenge is the best N64 ROM hack ever. Sweet.
So what's really cool is so I've got an EverDrive 64, and there are some ROM hacks of games that you could play on the EverDrive 64 on your actual Nintendo 64. Unfortunately, that's not one of them because there's like a lot of like HD textures and like voice files and stuff that you have to download that the original hardware can't do.
Yeah. Dude,
But
that looks phenomenal.
I've got a copy of Virtual Pro Wrestling, which is that Aki engine that No Mercy was made with, WCW, NWO Revenge. So Virtual Pro Wrestling was this was in Japan, and this game is freaking amazing. Similar to No Mercy, WCW, NWO Revenge, that kind of style, but it's in Japanese. But I was able to get a patch where I could patch the Japanese language into English,
Yeah.
and I got it on my EverDrive, and I can just play it right on my N64.
Dude,
Freaking
that is
awesome, dude.
sick. So you have this currently right now.
A Virtual Pro 64, yes.
Oh, okay, okay. Damn. So this WWF Legends thing, they took No Mercy and just hacked it and added all these characters and everything in it.
Yep.
It looks like they have the old school cage too. I don't remember what kind of cage they had in their original game, but they have the one with the big ass blue bars on it now.
Mhm.
That's pretty sick, and it looks clean as hell too.
Yeah, and it's got commentary and everything on it, man.
Oh
So,
yeah,
yeah,
damn.
I'm gonna end up downloading that and giving it a try. The only problem is I don't have a wireless N64 controller or a USB N64 controller, so I'm
Yeah,
gonna have to use either one of my 8-bit DOE controllers or an Xbox controller. Which, I mean, I know we spoke last time about this, how I got like this weird quirk where if I'm playing a console, like I have to use that certain controller. I can't use another controller to play it.
yeah, dude. That'd be a good game for you to make your first post on YouTube with on your channel.
Yeah, man. So I actually recorded some game footage I was gonna upload. I did a speed run of Super Mario Brothers. Well, my version of a
Oh,
speed run, but the sound didn't come out. So I was like, ah, man. So it kind of sucked because I did my commentary on it and everything. So I hadn't played the original Super Mario Brothers in like forever. Um, but I decided, hey, you know what? Let's see how fun it would be to pick this game up after so many years and try to do a quick speed run on it.
mhm.
And I got it. I did it in like 11 minutes. But so my speed run, it's not. There's no glitches. There's no like I use warp zones and stuff, but I don't do any of the tricks that the professionals do to get like, hey, I beat Super Mario Brothers in like 3 minutes, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Um, so I when I got to World 8, when you get to Bowser's Castle in World 8, there's a certain path you have to take to get to Bowser, and I used to remember it by heart, and I had to. So the first time I went through, I couldn't quite remember what the path was I had to take, so I ended up running out of time, and I died. But then the second time, I remembered the path and I got it. So I was like, oh, okay. And yeah, I finished at like 11 minutes or something like that.
Finish entire game
Yeah,
in
yeah.
11 minutes. Damn.
So I was like, oh man, this is great, man. I had some, I had some good one liners and everything. And
Yeah.
I want to play it back, man, just no sound at all. So
God.
I was like, oh man.
You got to get
So
yourself an Elgato.
yeah, I need to figure something out with this, man. Like I've got the internal capture card, but it's just pissing me off at this point.
Mhm.
Um, but with spooky season coming up, man, I wanted to play some old school horror games, man. I really wanted to stream some Clock Tower on the PS1, Clock Tower 2,
That'd be
maybe
sick.
even Clock Tower 3, man. Some of the obscure games that people might not know about, and then probably do like a fresh playthrough of like the original Resident Evil on the PS1.
Oh,
That's
hell
that
yeah.
that's another game I haven't played in years, so I can't quite remember where everything is at. But I wanted to do something like that. So I think once I get the sound situation figured out, I wanted to do that. In addition to having some horror movie clips, essentially just like almost like reviews, man.
Mhm.
Talking about, this movie. Hey man, I watched this when I was like 12 years old or like whatever the hell, and doing all that. But again, I just got to figure out this sound problem, and then once I get that, then I think I'm gonna start. I'm gonna try to start uploading fairly frequently, because then after that, the next project is gonna be I want to start digitizing my VHS movies.
Yeah.
Um, so I want to capture commercials, and I want to get the old ECW wrestling tapes that I have, and I want us to do a live stream just because it'll be a blind watch for you, and just
Yes.
get like our reactions on this stuff.
Dude, I'm so down for that. The thing is, I don't know how, like, we're gonna have to do something creative or something with it because I don't know how YouTube's gonna react if we're streaming like the entire thing on here. We might get like pulled down or something.
Yeah, so we'll probably just do like bits and pieces of it. So
Uh-huh.
it might be a thing where we do like a pre-record and just edit it down,
Yeah.
um, that kind of thing. But I think if there's a way when you're uploading the video, I think if you like mirror the image, so on screen it looks like it might be backwards. I
Uh-huh.
th- I think that's okay. Not 100% certain, but I've been looking at ways on how to get around that whole situation. Because while it'd be cool that we could see it, if anybody's watching the video, I kind of want them to get a gist of like the clip of what's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rather than seeing, two guys going, "Oh man, it's nuts." Like what's
Yeah.
nuts, you know? So
Yeah, like our live stream for Payback last weekend.
yeah,
I think it was. I think speaking on the live stream, I think that was cool. It was a good time.
yeah,
I got the
definitely.
idea from In the Clutch ENT here on YouTube. They uh they do the same thing every week for Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown. I don't think they do NXT. But then all the PLEs they do it. And they do it just like we did it. They just sit there and commentate on it and just have a good time. And we kind of have to do that again. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, definitely. We could do the next one popping up. So I think they have an event this weekend. Actually, I won't be able to do this weekend though. I think it's like the event in India, and then
Yeah, yeah.
the next I think big event is for NXT, which is No Mercy.
It's no mercy. I don't really watch NXT that much, but there's big names on it. I might watch it.
Yeah, dude, NXT is so good.
Is it? Yeah, I seen Braun Breaker this week smash some dude's head with the steel stairs and then just cut to black. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. So back when it was like the black and gold brand, oh man, NXT was that was it, dude. It was so good. And then the pandemic happened, and they were having their shows. They went up against AEW. AEW slaughtered them in the ratings.
Hmm.
They moved nights, and then they turned it into NXT 2.0, and that was it was kind of okay at first. It was like they had
Did
some
they
interesting stuff.
did they
You
get
had
rid of the neon colors and shit?
Yeah, yep.
Nice.
So they had a couple of good storylines there, a couple of interesting things. They had the guy Joe Gacy. Now he's part of the schism, and they're like this like whole like weird cult. But when he first started off in the NXT 2.0, his character was a social justice warrior,
Hmm.
and that was actually pretty funny because it was just him poking fun at like social justice warriors. But once Vince McMahon was gone and like Triple H took everything over again, it's kind of back to, and Shawn Michaels is back in charge.
Yep.
It's kind of back to the old black and gold brand, and it's really really good, man. So
Nice.
one of the things is that I know a lot of people, like a lot of the AEW fans, they shit all over it because there's a lot of botches. There's definitely a lot of botches, but
There's a lot of botches in AEW.
yeah, and this is what I try to tell people is like, so NXT is a developmental brand. Like they're not coming out and saying, "Hey man, here's like our third show," blah 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 blah. It's literally a developmental brand. So when you see these people doing botches on the show, it's because they're learning. They're still new to the craft. They're getting used to all this other stuff. Whereas when you see the botches in AEW, these guys are like a lot of these guys are trained athletes,
Hmm.
trained professional athletes that have been doing this for years and are doing these botches. So I'm just like,
That's
you
true.
know, NXT gets that pass a bit, but NXT is like really good, man. I'm really, really digging it. Um, Impact Wrestling, man, dude,
I,
I think Impact Wrestling is a hidden gem. I really do.
I'm gonna try to tune in this weekend and watch the Dudley Boys' final run.
Yeah, yeah. So that'll be a Saturday, I think. But actually, Impact is on right now, man.
Oh, really?
On Access TV. Yeah, it's from 8 to 10. Um, really solid stuff, man. I really enjoy Impact. I like Impact Wrestling more than I like AEW.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think we'll have to we could stream that NXT PLE if you want, and then you can just like school me on who everybody is because I'm gonna be lost. Besides
yeah,
like the big names like Braun Breaker and all of them.
yeah.
That'd be
Definitely.
cool.
Because they do have some good stories coming up. They got some very interesting storylines that I'm looking forward to seeing how they pan out.
Nice. Hell yeah. Well, shit, old school for not having much to talk about this week. We made it an hour. I feel like it was
Yeah,
kind of easy.
yeah, that wasn't bad at all. But that's how it is, man. Organic conversations just kind of boom, boom, boom.
Yes, sir. But all right. I mean, I think we're good. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, come on over to YouTube, the Mighty Buildo on YouTube, and Old School Legend Gaming on YouTube. If you're listening on YouTube and watching on YouTube, go like us and subscribe to us and rate us on Apple and Spotify. And I appreciate everybody watching. Old School, I appreciate you as always. And we'll see you next week.
Peace.
See ya.